Okay, continuing on in the series of parallel universes and what you might be feeling, you may also be aware sometimes of your voice echoing or feeling like you're speaking into a drum. I don't think I mentioned that pattern that's occurring too. But we were talking about this shifting of this feeling and this anxiety kind of coming up. There's a couple of things that I want you to do while we're, right now while you're listening. I want you to look at your left hand at the back side with, your wrist and your palm facing you. Hold your hand up, and I want you to look at your fingers. And starting with your thumb, look at the second finger, third finger. Now look at this finger next to your pinky. And is it discounting fingernails? Is it as long or longer than the finger that is right next to your thumb? So we're taking out the middle finger that we use for expressing dissatisfaction to people. Sometimes, if you're prone to that, I'm not. Or that we might use as a tool for driving and expressing ourselves. That finger is removed from our consciousness. It's only being used to measure these two fingers. So if the finger next to your pinky is as tall or taller than the finger next to your thumb, you have what would be called a predisposition toward hypoglycemia or sugar drops. So if you are not getting enough protein, or you're having too many carbs or foods that have a sugar base, you might be beginning to feel in the afternoons anxiety that naturally occurs from a shift in your internal energy because you need protein. So we want to rule that out as a source of any anxiety. It's also what creates a lot of times fears and phobias in us. And in hypnosis, what I do is I go take those out through different methods because they got created through artificial means, but because everything is part of our concept and a belief. Once we begin to believe it, it becomes a reality. So if you had an anxiety attack in traffic or on a bridge, and you began to believe that you have a fear of bridges, and that initial one was caused because you had a protein drop, and then every time you get on a bridge, if you begin to think you're going to have anxiety, your brain's very powerful. It can create the same mental reaction even though your proteins may be balanced. But initially it could have come from a protein imbalance. So I want you to look at your hand and see, are you predisposed to having anxiety from protein? And then if you do have a finger that's equal in length or a little longer, then you are more predisposed to having this protein need for protein to come in. And so if you eat too much sweets or carbs and all of that, you're going to create a mental imbalance. And it's going to lead to anxiety and this more dreadful feeling. So let's take that out. So if you have that going on, and we can rule that out as a potential cause, then we're not worried about that now. If that's not an issue, then we know now what we're dealing with is anxiety born of possible shift energy. Of course, there's always other causes for anxiety. We could be emotionally and energetically attached to other beings that are coming in and trying to tap our energy as we speak. So that could be going on. So be aware, there's other things that can cause our energy to drop or feelings to occur, but it can be related to parallel universe activity. Now, how do you become aware enough to pull on the energy you want and dismiss the one that's not serving you? It's a difficult process to get to that level of awareness. It's not really difficult. It just actually feels difficult because there's a lot of belief concepts and ideas and understandings that we have to release to be able to do it. And everything is so interwoven that sometimes to change a belief It's like dominoes. You change one thing and it starts this sequence, and all these other things have to change for this final event to occur fully. And while it might be entertaining, it can be time consuming or difficult. And if all the dominoes aren't exactly positioned right, then what happens? There's a break or an interruption and you don't get to the end of the circuit. It doesn't run right. So the desired result doesn't come. And that's sort of what's happening with these parallel universes. Some of the dominoes aren't spaced exactly right. So to get them to fall, all these parallel universes, to end up in the fifth in a peaceful and cohesive pattern, we need to go back to some of these other universes and move the dominoes around a little bit. Put them in a better order so that they sync right, so that everything can fall more peacefully. So that's what I'm attempting to do in my life right now, is shift into some of these other universes, see what's occurring, come back into this main one that I'm working in at this moment on these videos, although I'm working on them and other ones too, but bring back some of the positive energy in places where I made healthier, better, more open and loving decisions, and bring those decisions back into this universe and apply them. Not just to help myself or to really attain and sustain that euphoric feeling and that love connection, but to help the other energies that I'm wounding in this universe by not looking at it in that way. And also for the benefit of the earth, to have a more cohesive balance so the shift can stay more even and the roll up out of third to fifth won't create as much risk or cracks in the fabric, wounds, tears, rips, however you want to see it. So in that regard, revisiting things before there's a finality has been important to me, and it's only been over the last week or two that it's come about. I'm working on some books, most of them are fiction, that I'm writing about, feel-good kind of energetic things, but kind of about beings here as energies on the earth, humans, that have major impact on the roll from third to fifth but don't know. They do it unwittingly. They're beautiful energies and their actions seem to be disconnected from everything, and yet the end result is that everyone on the planet experiences a benefit to some degree without knowing it. And that really is about, I think I don't know who the quote's from, but there's no limit to what we can accomplish if we don't care who gets the credit. It kind of goes into that energetic field, and that we are all one, we're all connected, and the actions of one affect the actions of all, even if we don't want to believe it. Now I want to say again emphatically, while I am an ordained minister, I am not religious, because I find religion to be very restrictive and concepts to be very outdated in most respects, and that I think a lot of religions, as it relates to me, not to anyone else, tend to be more about power, one being rising to the top and wielding power over everyone within that religious, indoctrinational philosophy or school. And I really want to encourage everyone, whether you're religious or not, to keep examining everything as to how it works for you and how it resonates. And if you're getting messages that constantly don't fit or don't make sense or create a level of discomfort, figure out if that discomfort is one you need to move into because you need to shift your consciousness, or one you need to dismiss because it's not resonating with your true energy. There's nothing wrong with religion, so to speak, if you want to be engaged in it. It's not that you have to dismiss it. For me, I find it doesn't do anything to move me anywhere I want to go. And I find it's more inhibitory than it is enlightening. My own personal feeling. However, I do understand the higher energetic source that all energy extends from. I also know that there's no judgment. It's not here to watch us. There's no hell. And while we are within the likeness of that energy, in the sense that we're all energy and creators, that energy isn't armed and legged and headed and toed like we are and we believe. And we always want to create the image of what we see as our origination to look like us. And we have a natural inclination to do that because as we come onto the earth, what do? We shoot out of a womb, typically, through a vagina, through a passageway, unless you're cesarean, but you're still coming out of a womb, typically. And at least at this point in the evolution of the creation of the bodies, we're still doing it that way in most areas. And because we do that, we see ourselves resembling the beings that we emanate from. And it's very common for us to say, oh my gosh, you look just like your mother, you look just like your dad, you act like your sister. We want to find the similarities and connect everybody together. It's a natural inclination. However, all things that we're connected to don't look just like us. Butterflies are energetically connected to the same fabric we're connected to. Trees, plants, Mother Earth, extraterrestrial, superconsciousness energies, beings beyond our even scope of understanding, and they don't look a thing like us. And yet on some planets there are energies that look just like us. There are energies that resemble more of a feline or cat energy. There are an infinite number of potential physical, tangible vehicles for spirit energies to enter as you're more than your imagination could fathom. So don't get caught up in this understanding that the human body is the be-all, end-all of energy transportation. That's like saying everybody should drive a Ferrari because we think it's this great thing. Well, there are people that hate Ferraris. There are beings that drive Ford Mustangs. There are beings that drive Ford Escorts or Mazdas or whatever. And if there's a car company that really wants to sponsor me and help support my life as I do this and they come forward, I am not opposed to using metaphors with their particular brand of vehicle in them. I can find a million ways to endorse a product as I do this without any... I would not endorse a product per se that was harmful in a way that was harmful. But I'm just saying, I have to live on the planet. I have to pay specific bills while I'm here with an understanding. So if there's any particular company that would like to have an endorsement through my videos, I'm open to it. But understand that I would have to understand what the endorsement was really bringing, the energy and who it was aimed at and the potential for it. And if the intent wasn't right, of course, I wouldn't entertain it. But I'm not opposed. So I drive a Mazda right now, and it was a gift from one of my clients, and I love it because she gave it to me, and it runs, and the car's name is Champ 2. But there are a lot of different vehicles that I find interesting, although I don't identify myself through a car per se. But I do use the metaphor frequently because our body is like a car. It's what our spirit is navigating and moving about the planet in, and it's what we're pulling all this energy in to us to help animate it and move it about, give us mobility and understanding. So understand that our physical body is just a tool or a vehicle. If you get too caught up in it, if you get too engaged in your physical body, you're going to lose a little connection to your soul energy. It's okay to be aware of your body and take good care of it and have pride in it in the sense that you want it to be healthy so your spirit moves about with the greatest of ease. What you don't want to do is begin to fathom that your body is superior to another's, or that your choice or what you like in a body is a better choice than what someone else makes. It's great to love your body, to be connected to it, to be energized and take care of it and see it in the highest form you want to see it. But not if you're creating the belief that you're now superior to someone else because you run marathons or because you keep yourself very trim. That's great. It's healthy for your body. I think that's lovely. But if you're saying that makes you superior to someone who, just eats potato chips and sits on the couch and doesn't run marathons. Not necessarily. There are some very spiritually aware people that are running around in vehicles that you would not recognize because you would think they're a train wreck. And that's not necessarily true. So I'm going to end this video segment, and then I got one more segment to kind of wind up these parallel universes and to put just a little more information out there so we can get to the end of this particular series.